How do you do? It is I, Lord Pemberton III. And today I want to talk about something that is near and dear to the UK's taxation policy. And that is the failing service of the NHS. Now, the NHS, for people that don't know, is the health service that kind of runs the UK. It's a bit of a monopoly, and also it's a political tool to get people in, from the government to basically have a little bit more control and to have incentive to wave in front of people saying like, "Oh, vote for us and we'll make it better," when actually it doesn't get better, it never gets better, it only gets worse, it's all the way down. A lot of people say that it is it used to be a lot better in the past, past decade or so. And I'll say that somebody who grew up with the NHS, it was never good. It was always pretty shit. It was always pretty bad. And sure, it has gone a lot worse, but it was always going to get worse regardless. The thing is, the NHS gets a lot of money, every year. They get billions, and even though they get billions, sometimes even from the government with providing a lot more money, it never seems to get better though. Even though they get a lot of money. Now, a lot of people will blame the Tories and say, like, "Oh, it's the Tory party that's making it worse." Even though, they're just a small subsect of the issue of the NHS. And that is whenever there's a big payout, with the NHS, instead of the money going to the nurses and the staff members that, do some pretty back-breaking work, it goes into the higher-ups' pockets where they can finally finance their new Rolls-Royce. And also lavish lifestyle. And, I worked in the NHS, so I know a lot of people get screwed over behind the scenes. And also, sometimes the doctors, the GP, don't really do their job correctly. Or sometimes, sometimes they try to hide a little bit of the old drinky. Actually, I had one issue when, from one of my appointments with the doctor was out, absolutely drunk out of his mind, and I did manage to catch a glimpse of the vodka bottle just hiding behind his computer. So, yeah, which I tried to report him, but because the contacted the manager said, "Oh, he'll look into it." Turns out the doctor never got any kind of reprimands for drinking on the job. Kind of a little bit scummy, if you ask me. Another thing is also it's a complete monopoly, because if you wanted to get private health insurance, you actually still need to go through the GP in order to see any issue. So first of all, you need to go through your GP, which is primarily what you'd want to avoid going towards when you're having private health insurance, when you're having a private healthcare plan, which I had, and during when I was working. But again, there was no point of using it because I still had to go through my GP, who weren't exactly very helpful. And to this day, I'm still waiting for a 2-year appointment for a couple of things. It's the NHS best service that the NHS can provide. It's great, isn't it? But no, it's not. And also, one time I went to A&E, and I was going through because I was having a long migraine, like extreme. This was for days. And I felt so bad because here I am with a long-running migraine, which is nothing to scoff on about, because that could be indicative of a lot of issues. But I saw an A&E man with a metal spike through his neck. It was bleeding, profusely. So hours later, and nurses always constantly bringing more towels to push onto the wound, making sure not to push, of course, the metal spike into his neck. It was waiting there. I was I feel so bad. How do you let this happen? How do you let a man who has a metal spike through his neck be standing up while you not even seeing him? This is A&E. It's supposed to be for emergencies. The NHS itself is just a system that's kind of designed to fail, and it's being run by people who are very scummy and shady. And yeah, there's even been some. I remember this one video or the news where this woman, who I think she was one of the higher ups in the NHS, wanted to basically have tax, to get people to pay for being late. Having late fees for seeing the NHS. And it's kind of like, being 5 minutes late and you'd have to pay like £20, which doesn't seem like a lot. However, I would like to make this very clear. If that was to be implemented, then at that point, the same thing should happen with the doctors, because sometimes you can wait 2 hours in the waiting room while the doctor is not even there. You have made it to the appointment, you made it on time, and suddenly you need to have it's a 2-hour waiting list. So you being 5 minutes late because of traffic and perhaps some road issues or something that happens, why should you be feed for that? It's not. Sometimes it's just out of your control. But being 2 hours late, of course, that's an appointment that definitely can be cancelled. But doctors the GP that sees you and they're waiting for 2 hours, there's no such penalty for that. So it's quite an unfair system what she was proposing. It's completely ridiculous. You being even just a millimeter off, even just 1 minute late, makes your whole appointment cancelled, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But a doctor. Anyway, I'm kind of looping around, so let's kind of get away from that. Anyway, so yeah, it's just a really bad system, and people believe that suddenly that voting for this party will make sure the NHS is a lot better, even though there's no evidence to support that. I'm apolitical, so I don't really get involved with politics all that much. I know this is a bit of a political issue, but I try to make it exclude a lot of the political stuff from it. But I don't see any hope for the NHS. Essentially, I don't think it is a system that is recoverable. I think the best thing to do would be kind of put the NHS out of its misery and implement something new. And probably, in my opinion, something that requires at least a little bit of payment, so like some of the Nordic countries do. I think using the system that comes from that is implemented in places like Norway would be such a fantastic way of running the health service, and that's. I think that should be the way it's done, and it's also not free. They don't have a free health service. Because I know a lot of people believe that like Nordic countries their health service is free. It's not really the case. You do need to pay some fees, but people think like that, and they hear payments, and they immediately jump to the most extreme, which is America, which is completely different, and that is the most extreme part of pain. That they have the most extreme version of the spectrum, the opposite from the NHS's free one. But we don't need to go that. We don't need to pay £50,000 for to get an ambulance ride. Like that is the extreme version. No, I'm saying instead we should implement some system like the ones they have in Norway, or even though when I was in so I'm originally from Slovakia, and all I did was pay I think a small fee of about €20 or something like that. And I had immediate surgery, and the doctor just came in. I had my toenail removed because I was having issues with that. He just came in, done that, picked it off, and that was it. No hassle, no fassle. No, it was just done on the spot. And even though the Slovak healthcare system is not great, but it's leagues better than the UK, because you can actually see results. The thing is, I compare the NHS system to a freemium service, where you essentially have to put in a lot of time and a lot of patience, and even a lot of ads in different ways, and you'll be lucky to get a decent attention. But yeah, I've unfortunately had to have lost some people towards the NHS in my life, which is never fun. And I think there is no really hope for the NHS, so I think it's just time to cut the losses. Understand that it's also a political bargaining tool to get people to kind of, think, oh, well, it could be worse because we might not have the NHS. Another thing I want to talk about is once I nearly lost a testicle, so I had testicular torsion, and it was absolutely agony, and I had to go to the hospital, of course, for it to get it sorted out. And when I was there, I was in absolute agony. I felt like the whole universe was collapsing in on myself. I felt like I was going to give birth to my intestines. It was just in complete agony. So basically, I went to the receptionist, and the receptionist told me to go to to this other section of the hospital. And basically, I went around, and it took a long time because I kept on stopping because the waves of pain were getting a lot worse. I was up, like time for me stopped during this time. Every so often when I got these waves of pain, so I went around, went back, and the nurse and I said I couldn't find this section, and she said to me, actually it's not in this area. It's actually in another hospital that you have to go towards. That's about 20 minutes or so away. And I looked at her. I said, "What? I'm in the most agonizing pain of my entire life, and you essentially had me, do a little bit of a brisk walk around the entire hospital facility. You're joking." So anyway, thankfully I had to go to a hospital that was not part of the NHS jurisdiction. Thank God, even though they still had to apply the same rules and standards and policies that the NHS was using. So I had to go through them, and I managed to get at least, right to it. I got underneath the knife, I got everything sorted out. I'm never going to have that issue ever again, thankfully. But yeah, it's just a really bad system. Anyway, that's my little rant about the NHS. If you like more ramblings, like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Comment. I'll be sure to read and reply back to your comments. So thank you for everything, and see you in the next episode. Bye.